Can Joachim Löw become a true Macam at Sunderland? Hello everyone, this is the What If League and today's experiment is focusing on Sunderland once again. We are going to try another experiment with a new head coach for Sunderland. This time the experiment is going to be with Joachim Löw. He is the ex-German national team head coach, and Joachim Löw has been put in charge of Sunderland. Now, as you can see, it's the 22nd of January, which means that Sunderland are 22nd in the championship, and from Joachim Löw is required to first of all guide them away from relegation, and afterwards to climb up the league rankings and qualify for the Premiership. So, as usual, I am going to fast forward until the end of this first season to see how did he perform, and we can comment. Here we are now at the 2nd of June 2018. We can see that Sunderland finished the season 19th, so this means that Joachim Löw did manage to guide them to safety. We can see that they're 7 points above the last relegated team, Bolton, at the 22nd place. Robin Rutter has picked up 4 Player of the Match awards, which makes him joint first place in this category. I don't see any other Sunderland players in the top 3 places in the player stats, so we'll move on to Sunderland instead to see what happened with them. We can see that Joachim Löw is still their head coach, which is very positive. I'm not sure if you have seen the other videos in my channel that are related to Sunderland, but usually what the board does is they fire their managers no matter what. We saw that very big names like Jose Mourinho, Carlo Ancelotti, Thomas Tuchel did not fare very well at the Stadium of Light, and they were fired in the end of their first seasons. So let's see the tactic screen. What did Love bring to the Northern English team? We see that Callum McManaman is playing as a striker, Aidan McGeady and Duncan Watmore are the wingers with George Honeyman. George Honeyman, I'm not really familiar with that player. Is he a Sunderland player? Yes, he is. He's actually from the Sunderland youth system. So apologies for that. I really didn't know about that player. Darren Gibson and Didier Donk are playing in the middle of the field with Billy Jones, Lamine Kone, T.S. Browning and Brendan Galloway as the defenders line, just in front of Jason Steele as goalkeeper. Jason Steele has been brought as for $500,000 from Blackburn. This happened probably within this transfer window. No, he was brought before that. The only transfer was Anton Wokes from Tottenham. He's a right fullback. He's also capable to play as a defensive midfielder. And looking at his stats, he's not really impressive. So I imagine he has been brought as a backup. Currently, he is playing for the first team, but I don't see any playing time for him in the championship. So let's have a quick look at here the past positions to see how did they fare during that season. The time that we switched the new manager was about here. So this is his first game. Joachim Löw won when visiting Birmingham City, and I think that was their key highlight of the season. Afterwards, things went down for them. Very unfortunate. In the end, they managed to record a win away to Fulham. Before that, they beat Burton Albion at home, and they ended the season with a home loss to Wolverhampton. So all in all, not really impressive from Joachim Löw, but then again, he managed to keep his role and is not sacked by the board. Let's also have a quick look how did they fare in the cups. So in the League Cup, as you know, they bowed out to Walsall in their very first round. Then in the FA Cup, they lost in the FA Cup fourth round to Stoke, a catastrophic 4-1 loss against Stoke at the Britannia Stadium. So not really impressive in the cup competitions as well. Now I'm going to fast forward 3 more years into the future and see what happens and if we have more positive news. The year now is 2021, and we are now focusing at the Championship League table. Last time out, Sunderland finished 19th. In the next season, Joachim Löw managed to lead them to the champions. They became champions of the Championship, which means that they qualified for the Premier League. Very impressive stuff from Joachim Löw. They finished with 86 points, 5 more than their chasers Middlesbrough and Swansea. Let's have a look how did they fare in the Premier League that season. So this means that it's season 19-20, and unfortunately for them, they were relegated alongside their fellow northern neighbors, Newcastle. Unfortunately for Sunderland fans, the Black Cats finished last in the Premier League with 29 points, 4 less than Newcastle and 9 less than West Ham at the 17th position that brought them safety. So they were back at the Championship in the very next season. Let's see what happened then. And we can see that they finished fourth, but apparently they didn't manage to go through the playoffs. Let's have a look. We can see that Burnley, Newcastle, and West Bromwich qualified for Premiership. Let's see what happened here. We have Sunderland eliminating Sheffield United in the semi-finals, and unfortunately for them, they lost to West Brom in the final playoff, 2-1. Now let's have a look at the Sunderland team and see if there are changes in their staff. Cesare Prandelli is now their head coach, so Joachim Löw did not keep his job. I'm very surprised by the Sunderland board of directors. It's really insane to hire managers like that. So you can see here Joachim Löw. He left his role, and he left his role in 2019. He left his role. Who is he leading now? No one. That's very interesting. No, actually, he left his role to lead West Brom until the next year, where he was probably sacked or left his role again. I'm not sure what happened. In any case, Joachim Löw left his role. Kit Simmons was the interim manager. Then he was replaced by Gary Monk, who was sacked after almost 1 year in charge of the Magpies. Darren Way was then the interim manager, and Cesare Prandelli is leading the team ever since the 8th of January. So practically Joachim Löw and Gary Monk are the managers who brought success to Sunderland in the Championship. Gary Monk was also the manager that was fired during their Premiership times. They were probably last at that point, but I think Cesare Prandelli was there to see the team actually getting relegated. Let's have a quick look at the tactics screen before we check their transfers, and I'm also going to have a quick glance at their schedule list for the last 3 seasons to see how did they fare in the domestic cups. A lot of new names, at least for me. We can see most impressively Ryan Sessegnon is now playing for Sunderland. He is their left midfielder. He has not really developed very well looking at his stats, and he's on loan from Arsenal. So they did not manage to buy him, but they brought him on loan. And Arsenal made a very interesting transfer in the beginning of the game. They bought him for a very a really modest sum, 1.2 million. I'm very surprised by this. Probably they promised a big percentage to Fulham after his next sale. I'm not really sure what was the deal then. In any case, that's not our main focus. The main striker of the team is Shani Tarashash, who is a Swiss player, 26 years old. And how did he perform? He has been brought on loan the previous year, so in the second season, apologies, from Everton. Then we can see that his move was made permanent when Sunderland joined the Premier League. He scored quite a lot of goals, not that many in the Premier League, but in the Championship he is really running riot there. This is now leading us to the transfers, and let's go back to the first season. Joachim Löw did not buy anyone in the first transfer window that he had, which was about 10 days in January. Not really surprising. Then the next year he spent 2.9 million pounds, and by he I mean Joachim Löw together with Gary Monk. As we saw that Joachim Löw left the team midway through the season to lead West Bromwich Albion. Gary Monk took charge, so combined they brought all these players for 2.9 while they sold for 9.25. Very interesting. Here they made a healthy profit, with the biggest transfer fee spent was on James Husband from Norwich. So James Husband is still at Sunderland at 27 years old. Now he's on loan at Bristol. So he has not really performed quite up to the expectations. That's unfortunate for them. On the other side, we can see that Jeremy Lance has been sold to Besiktas. Fabio Borini has joined Milan for 5.25 million pounds, and the rest of the transfers are not really that significant. Moving to the next year, season 19-20, the total spent here is 37.5 million, and this is because Sunderland needed to actually buy a lot of quality to be able to compete in the Premier League, which we saw that they did not manage to do successfully and were relegated from the first time asking back down to the Championship. Most notable transfers here: Kike from Elbar, Andre Castro. I'm not sure if this is the player that I'm thinking of. Let's see. I'm really not sure. He's a defensive midfielder. I was thinking about a midfield player, but probably not Andre Castro. Actually, this guy is very impressive. I think he played well. Who else do we have here? Aidan Flint from Leeds has been brought. Matt O'Reilly on loan from Arsenal. Interesting stuff. Who else? We have some players from other leagues that I'm not really familiar with. Maybe some of you would leave a comment explaining who is the best player and the most surprising purchase that they made. Shane Duffy from Brighton and Stephen Defour are the two guys that catch my eye. So Shane Duffy is now already at Celtic. He was sold, so Sunderland did not manage to keep him, and this probably has something to do with the fact that they're not playing in top division. Stephen Defour, where is he now? He's now in at PAOK. So again, he did not stay to play too long in the championship. On the other side, in the outgoing section, we can see that they only sold a couple of players, and they were not really that expensive. Was Vibe or Vibe? I'm not sure. Let's see where is this player from. He's Danish, which makes me think that his name is Vibe more than Vibe. At least I hope so. Apologies if not to all the Danish the Danish viewers. Please let me know in the comments how to pronounce that name. In the last season, transfers here were also quite a lot, but not really that expensive, 16 million in total, while the outgoing transfers were 17.5, which of course is made up a lot of the players that played in the Premier League, then got relegated, that didn't want to hang around in the second tier of the English football game. The most notable name here on the list, at least for me, is the name of Joshua Onoma, who has been brought from Tottenham for £3 million, and he's now valued at 5, which means that he's developing well. We can see that 5 assists, 1 goal, 1 Player of the Match award, an average rating below 7. So this is not really very good performance from him, but it happens with new players having that time to adapt. Now let's have a look at the schedules for the team and see how did they perform in the domestic cups. In the first season, if you remember, Sunderland were eliminated in the first round in the League Cup that they were participating. Then Stoke eliminated them in the FA Cup fourth round. In the next season, let's see what happened. The first round of the League Cup, they were eliminated by Rochdale on penalties. Very, very unfortunate, and I'm sure that they did not really bring a lot of good vibes at the Stadium of Light. Then in the FA Cup fourth round, once again they were eliminated, this time to Bournemouth 2-3 away from home. Next season, what happens here? League Cup, they managed to go past the second round after defeating Notts County after extra time. And then in the third round, they were eliminated by Hull at home, losing 0-2. In the FA Cup third round, they eliminated Wigan, but then in the fourth round, Wolverhampton managed to beat them at the Molineux. Next year, League Cup first round, Notts County were eliminated 4-1 before Preston beating Sunderland 1-3 at home. This is probably a very, very big loss that was not taken lightly by the fans or the board. In the FA Cup, however, they managed to get past the third and the fourth round before Burnley eliminated them in the fifth round, and they even managed to secure a round replay. And at this point, they were back into the championship, so this was probably their best performance so far. And they ended the season in a very bad state. You can see they lost the final after 2 wins in the semi-final, so this is very, very disappointing for them with Cesare Prandelli at their helm. Before I finish this video, I just want to quickly have a look at the Premiership and then the league competitions and the European competitions, just to have an understanding who became champions in those 4 seasons. In England, you can see that Manchester City won 2 titles, Manchester United and Chelsea won another title each in these 4 seasons. Let's see what happened in the FA Cup. So in the FA Cup, we can see that Liverpool, Manchester City 2 years in a row, and then Manchester United were victorious, taking that trophy. Then we have the League Cup, where Newcastle won the first League Cup. This is very impressive from Rafa Benitez. Probably not something to celebrate by the Sunderland fans. And Manchester United, Tottenham, and Watford won the trophy in the next 3 years in the League Cup. Let's move now to the European competitions, and first off we start with the Europa League, where Manchester United won the first title there, so they made it 2 in a row. I imagine that they dropped out from the group stage in the Champions League, and that's why they found themselves in the Europa League. PSG won the next year. They were succeeded by Roma, and Sevilla were the winners of the Euro Cup in this last season. Let's see in the Champions League what's happening. Tottenham were champions of Europe in the very first season. This is very impressive from Mauricio Pochettino's team. Afterwards, Bayern Munich, Chelsea, and Bayern Munich again were crowned champions of Europe. With that, I think this is sufficient to end this experiment. So thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for my channel. That way you're going to receive notifications for when I upload new videos. You can also check out my social media, links will be provided in the description. If you haven't seen the video where Mourinho, Ancelotti, Thomas Tuchel and Luis Enrique are trying to manage Sunderland, apologies, I will leave a link to that in the description as well if you're interested to see it. Please let me know what you guys think about this experiment, and if you have any requests for something that you would like to see, I would love to hear from you in the comments. With that, I think that's everything. So thank you again for watching. Until the next time, bye.